Some classic urban legends incoming. I'm your host Youssef, and these are 10 scary South American urban legends that will terrify you. Make sure you subscribe and ring that bell to get notified whenever we upload a new video. Anyways, let's jump in. Number 10. El Cuco. El Cuco, often referred to as El Viejo del Saco and El Yacumama, on occasion preys on people, much like the boogeyman. El Cuco, the Latino equivalent of the boogeyman, is used by parents to instill a fear of God in their offspring. El Cuco searches for disobedient individuals to abduct using his bag. According to a tale in Spain, Francisco Ortega, sometimes known as El Moruno, is El Cuco. Ortega visited a curandera at the turn of the 20th century because he was so determined to find a treatment for his tuberculosis. He grabbed a man by the name of Bernardo after hearing that he needed to drink human blood. Jazzy Jeter preys on humans in a manner similar to that of El Cuco. However, Jazzy brings the prey back to a cave and feeds it wild fruit and berries until it turns feral. Number 9, and I'm sorry if I pronounced this wrong, El Sombreron. El Sombreron enjoys braiding the manes and tails of horses or dogs if there aren't any horses available, as well as young girls with large eyes and long hair, suggesting that he may be on the level of Khaleesi when it comes to the hairstyling. Even though he wears a big hat, typically wears all black clothing, and is well accessorized with ornate boots and belts, he is actually a creep and somewhat small. El Sombreron, also known as Zipitio, Zizimite, or the Goblin, will essentially establish his territory by tying a pack of mules outside a woman's residence if he likes her. He starts serenading her after that, but it's nothing like John Cusack did and say anything. To get her to travel home with him, he will play his silver guitar. He will give the woman dirt once she has followed him to prevent them from dozing off. Number 8. Acalica. The Acalica don't seem like that awful of a monster or legend. They are sometimes referred to as weather fairies and are thought to be mild-mannered beings that regulate the weather. They take care to avoid people's paths and reside in underground caverns. When they do occasionally show up, they resemble little aged guys. The weather can also be controlled by the Madramonte legend of Colombia. She defends nature, and anyone who dares to harm it will suffer the consequences. Number 7. Luz Mala. A Gaucho-era folktale is called Luz Mala. It literally appears as a fluorescent beam that flashes a few feet above the ground at night. It is not a real character. It's possible that the peasants were alarmed when they noticed the light at the edge of the barren hills because they believed it to be lost souls who hadn't been baptized in Christianity. Those who dared to gaze under the light are rumored to unearth metal things or native artifacts, but naturally, staring at the light has deadly repercussions. Supposedly, the found object emits a gas that ends anyone who finds them. In this respect, it is comparable to folklore prevalent in the Peruvian Andes, and purportedly in certain areas of Mexico, that claims a greenish light marks the location where conquistadors buried the treasure of Atahualpa. Number 6. Duende. The diminutive gnome or elf-like duendes are well known throughout Latin America, and each nation has its unique version of them. Even the Philippines has a version, duendes, which is understandable given that the story originated with common colonizer Spain, where duendes became a crucial part of classic literature and society. There was even a legislation in Spain from the 16th century that stated anyone who moved into a house and afterwards discovered it was plagued with duendes was free to leave it. Some think that duendes are the souls of people who passed away before their time and before they could be baptized, while others just see them as wicked, mischievous spirits who hide in a person's home and cause havoc. Beliefs regarding duendes vary from region to region. Number 5. A classic, El Chupacabra. El Chupacabra, or Chupacabras, which is Spanish for goat sucker for the language challenged, is a monster whose purported presence has haunted farmers and the general Latin consciousness for some time. It is similar to a Latin American Bigfoot or Loch Ness monster. The tale of El Chupacabra was first reported in 1995, making it relatively recent compared to Sasquatch, the Yeti, or even the Jersey Devil. In Puerto Rico, 8 sheep were bit and entirely drained of blood, with 3 puncture wounds in each of their chests. In the first reported Chupacabra attack that year, though others claim records date back as far as the 1960s. Number 4. El Culebron. A huge hairy snake with a huge calf-like head is essentially an anaconda on steroids. The creature is reported to come out of hidden tunnels or isolated woodlands at night and eat just about anything in its path in Chile's rural countryside. El Culebron is reported to come at the locations of hidden riches 40 days after it had been buried, and also has a tesoro radar. Anyone who wants to find the treasure must spray the ground with aguardiente in the hopes that the snake would become drunk and relax its defenses. According to folklore, the snake can attract prosperity to anyone who is able to domesticate it. Just as El Culebron is drawn to riches, finding a culebron in the wild, Finding a culebron in the wild, removing 3 of its longest hairs without being eaten, and then placing the hairs in a bowl of milk are all difficult tasks that must be accomplished. 3 baby culebrons will emerge from that bowl. The strongest will eat the other 2 to mature into a full-grown culebron. Number 3. Pishtaco. A pale-skinned vampire or boogeyman who stalks the Andes and ends peasants to drain them of their body fat was largely inspired by the horrors that indigenous populations in Bolivia and Peru endured during colonization in the 15th century. The first description of the creature in writing was made by priest Cristobal de Molina, an expert on Incan culture who lived in the 16th century. He described how local people in Cusco were increasingly afraid that the Spanish were going to end them and take all of their fat. Number 2. Massacooramaan. Preys on passengers in small boats and devours them in the rivers and oceans of Guyana. A type of jumbi, or mythical spirit or demon, endemic to Caribbean culture is the Massacooramaan. It's also the namesake of Fade, the mind producer Massacooramaan, alias Don Quam, whose fragmented and percussion-heavy party music resembles the monster himself in addition to being frightening as heck, and one of many water-dwelling animals in Latin American folklore. Number 1. Yacumama. The mythical Yacumama, a horned snake-like sea monster thought to be the mother of all marine life, resides in the mighty Amazon. The mythology of some indigenous cultures, particularly tribes from the western Amazon in the lowlands of Peru and Ecuador, includes the Yacumama. The Yacumama is said to be as long as 160 feet, according to various European colonists' tales from the 19th century. Indigenous cultures would blow horns before entering unknown bodies of water to alert the enormous reptile of human presence, and perhaps to prevent attacks as well. The Yacumama is a water deity in Argentina, although she appears as an elderly woman who greets those who join the river to collect offerings. Thanks for watching. Those were 10 scary South American urban legends that will terrify you. Leave a like and comment if you think we missed anything, and we hope you have a scary day.